host Mark and myself, Paul. Gavin from Indie Celts and Chris, who's involved with Celtic Australia's football club, will be joining us on today's show. We'll be discussing various topics that are relevant to Celtic football at the moment. Firstly, Mark will just do a few shout-outs to our local subscribers. Mark?
Yes, thanks, Paul. I'm really looking forward to today's show, I've got to say. The usual shout-outs to Tim Alloy, Richie, Malika and Young Ben. I'd like to also thank the Celtic Australians on Twitter for setting us up with Chris and Gavin, and big thanks to both of them for joining us. The links to all their sites and their social media stuff and that'll on the description box below. So let's show them a wee bit of support back, begin them a wee follow and things like that. And remember, please subscribe to the channel and remember to smash the like button.
So we move on again. Just welcome Chris and Gavin to the show. As I said, Gavin runs the Indie Celtics blogs where he writes pages for them. Chris plays football for Celtic Australians in Australia. Chris is originally from Clydebank in Scotland. Firstly, I come to you, Gavin. Tell us about the Indie Celtic blog that you write for and you're involved in.
I write the blog. Been doing it for about 5 years now. So it's a lot of fun. I just see whatever everyone's saying and put my own spin on it. I don't read anything in the Record or in the Sun. I got so sick and tired of listening to the crap and but the endless anti-Celtic inflection. I thought, I'll do a bit of writing myself, and then it started off as a bit of a hobby, and now it's like more of a pastime. I get cranky if I don't get to say something about whatever. Mind you, from about November through till March, I didn't write a thing because I was morbidly depressed, and I just couldn't bring myself to get on and write negative stuff about Celtic. Then the whole Eddie Howe thing came back, it's the positivity's coming back. Oh, we're getting this man in, we're going to sell these players, we're going to get this war chest. I've been back at the writing, but honest to God, it's just been an absolutely horrible year. It's been a great year for a writer if you enjoy writing about negativity, because negative stories generally do better in the news than positive ones.
Exactly.
I enjoy to write. I enjoy to podcast. I enjoy to admin Facebook pages. I love myself. So, yeah.
I think the Eddie Howe situation came as a big shock to everyone, Gavin, didn't it? When that kind of collapsed, didn't it? Everyone thought that was nearly a done deal by the media.
For mine, I think there's so much of that we're not being told. Let's start at the beginning. He's verbally agreed. He's agreed in principle. He's doing due diligence on Celtic. This, the other. Then next thing you know, we're being told we're waiting until he comes out of a gardening leave period. We're getting fed bullshit, bit by bit on a drip feed for 6 to 8 weeks or something like that. I'll just say one thing with this whole fiasco. Have a look at Chelsea. You know what I mean? Chelsea had a club legend in Frank Lampard running the club.
Exactly.
They were going bad. What did they do? They gave the tough medicine. They sacked him. They got the new manager in. They won the bloody Champions League. They're playing in Europe next year. They were mid-table and adrift. Why the hell in October? Did we not see the writing on the wall? Sack Lennon and get a new man in. In this season last season of all seasons, to just throw the white towel in. And then after January, okay, you can mathematically keep him on until the New Year's Day derby. We shit the bed then. And what do? They decide not to change him again. They wait until we clamber through a heap of results, dropping points to Livingston back to back. Absolutely no movement. No, and now still we're waiting. Now, obviously Ange Postecoglou's in the frame. Been seeing today and yesterday. There's basically the personal terms have been agreed. Also that he's the compensation deal has been agreed with Yokohama. But your man's still not standing out the front with the scarf up. What's happening?
Exactly. Mark, if you have anything to add to Gavin?
No, just on you go, Paul. Keep it rolling, bud.
So first, we're going to move on.
Explain, but Paul, that Gavin's actually in Sweden.
Yeah, that he's actually.
Stay in Sweden, Gavin.
Married a Swede.
But you're just over there and you've went into lockdown and can't leave the way you were saying earlier.
Oh, sort of. I'm not that bad. I can go back home and I can spend 2 weeks there, but because we're married and we've got the the what's called uppehållstillstånd. It's like the permission to stay here. If I spend 3 years in Sweden basically without leaving, they'll give me a passport. So it's not the worst time to get stuck here.
Oh.
So yeah, I'm just going to keep on. Oh look, I'm not going to.
Has that kind of affected your writing?
Oh, it's been great.
Is it easier to source information?
Oh,
you're in Europe, Gavin?
Yes. Oh, it's much better. I'm an hour behind. So like at the moment, well, I'm an hour in front. It's 3:05 here in Sweden. So like I wake up and I get on the net, and all the news is there like an hour before. 1 hour before like your release date. Obviously, lots of news goes to air 6, 7, 8 o'clock. So it's handy for that. And as well as this, look, I love Europe. I don't want to twist the knife to Scottish readers that have been forcibly taken out of Europe, but I'm not far off. I'm about 3 months off a European passport. So I'm happy enough with that. I love the EU. I love the people. I love the culture over here. The multicultural. There's people from everywhere, and it's wonderful. Like I'll always be an Australian. I'll always be there for me. But I've had my days, so I'm pretty happy to stay here now.
I suppose one of the best things is that you wouldn't have big spiders over here, right?
This is one thing. Irish people, man, seriously, you guys, are afraid of everything. No, it's like, will that bite you? Will that kill you? Yes, of course it will. It's Australian. Everything will kill you. And it's like, you swim with sharks and jellyfish and octopus. You go for a walk, there's spiders and snakes. Like, you think kangaroos are friendly animals? No, they're not. They'll kick the crap out of you. Everything's dangerous in Australia. Even the feral animals. We got wild goats. They'll kill you. Everything will kill you.
There's a destination I'll think twice after that. Anyway. I just move on to Chris there again. Chris, welcome to the show. Chris plays with Celtic Australia. He's made 117 appearances, 40 goals, 22 assists, 9 man to watch it was. He's classified as the Rolls Royce of defensive midfielder, I heard from his club. Chris, welcome to the show. What's your take on Celtic last season and the way we're moving forward?
No, thanks very much, guys. It's really, I'm really glad to be on. It was just a shambles last year. I mean, we all obviously had great hope that we were going to, go on and win the 10 and hopefully get another treble. But I think, when COVID hit, I think Celtic had a great bit of momentum. They were going to Ibrox at the tail end of last year, and everybody was really, really hopeful that we were going to go there and go further ahead. And then COVID hit, and then I just think that certain players just, basically tailed off. So, I think the 3-month break really had an effect on certain players, in particular Scott Brown. I think he probably had a major effect. And I appreciate that all these guys are fit, and I think Celtic put things in place. But when the season kicked off, there was a massive expectation, fans knowing the stadium. And I just think that Celtic just maybe thought that it might have been a foregone conclusion. Rangers got all their ducks in a row. And I just think that Celtic were just hoping that something was going to kick off. Mm-hmm. And then, it's funny when you actually look back and you think, after the Hamilton game, the first game of the season, you're thinking 5-1, we've ran riot, we've done really well. And then you go away to Kilmarnock, and it's a hard place to go, and and then the whole ball and goalie scenario, and then Celtic lose a few games where they can't play. And I just think that Celtic were playing catch up. And look, I think at the end of the day, I think if it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago, we might have got away with it. But, I think the other end of the city took full advantage of that. And the fans obviously weren't really buying into the fact, even when we won the treble when Lennon was appointed the manager, I think a lot of fans weren't 100% behind him. And I think that can sometimes carry into the players. And now that we're hearing, with Christopher Ayer coming out and saying that, there was an agreement made a year ago that he was going to leave. And if that is the case, then you've got to assume, even though we don't know, but you've got to assume that your Ryan Christie's, your Edwards, your Olivier and Shams, they were probably told the same. And you know what it's like.
And that's why they kind of down tools then, like when they want left go then at the start of last season.
Well, don't get me wrong. I do think that obviously the players on the field, they do obviously try their best. I don't think that they ever went on the part and didn't do what they were meant to do. But it doesn't matter if you play professional football. It doesn't matter if you play semi-pro or if you play at the level that I'm playing at. If you're part of a team and the chemistry's not right, and you don't get on with this guy, and you don't get on with that guy, you don't want to be going every day to your work not feeling good. So I just think that, okay, in hindsight's a wonderful thing. Obviously, we don't know exactly what can happen, but it looks like maybe Lennon or whoever the manager would have been, I think should have been a bit more stronger and said, look, it's one of the biggest seasons. We've been shouting about it for many, many years, and we've got to make a statement. And I just think asking players like Edouard and Ayer just to stay, just to give the fans 10 in a row, okay, if it worked out, fantastic. But I just think that now in hindsight, it was a bit of a mistake. And look, it went from really bad to worse. Every single week we were thinking, right, okay, we're going to kick off. Ross County beat us. Then we're going to kick off. We go 12 games without winning, or I think we won 2. Sorry. And then we get a glimmer of hope. We go away to Lille with a great performance in Lille, and then it just, for whatever reason, just wasn't kicking off. And I think, unfortunately as well, once again, you're never ever going to know everything, but I just think that we probably put our eggs in one basket. We thought 3-5-2 was a formation. We ended it at the end of the year. We've brought in Shane Duffy. We've got the players that can play that formation. And then, a couple of games in, a lot of fans were asking serious questions about Shane Duffy. James Forrest gets injured. Does Edouard look? Does he look interested? And I just think that one thing led to another, and eventually, before you know it, you get into the Old Firm game, or let's just say the Glasgow Derby, let's just say. But you get into that game in January, and you're absolutely desperate for that win. And when that never happened, once again, then to go to Dubai, it was just one thing after another. And
after another, like this. I think just go back to what Gavin said as well, like there was some things happening behind the scenes that we'll never ever know about either, Chris.
Oh, 100%. There's no doubt about it. You can go and speak to mates back home and people that are inside the club and whatever else. You'll never ever know. There was always a major talk about John Kennedy and Lennon not getting on. But how do we know that? But I just think that players in particular, I can only talk from a player perspective, and you know what it's like when players come in, and if players want to leave, it's very, very hard to turn them. And I just think it was a mistake, especially after the Ferencváros game when he came out and he made the comment that players want to leave. Now, once again, I might have my dates wrong, but I'm almost certain we were still within a transfer window.
We were.
I think if he, yep. So I think if we knew that certain players wanted to move on, I just think that we should have just took full advantage and went, look, it's not worth it. Europe's going to be, the second priority. Let's bring a few players in. But once again, hindsight's a wonderful thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. One thing, just going on what you said there. Basically, the transfer window was open till bloody sometime September, October because of COVID.
Because of the COVID.
Yeah. We had those games, those qualifiers were in like August. We got humped by bloody Ferencváros. And he come out and he said that either the club's got to make a decision, you've got to sell those want-away players, or you've got to change the manager. You're in that absolute Y shape there, right away. Which way are you going, right or left? Because someone's got to go. You know what I mean? Because otherwise you've got a manager who's lost the dressing room. It's absolutely...
Exactly. We were saying that straight away, Gavin, myself and Mark, that we think Neil Lennon lost the dressing room on that day when he came out and said that players who want to leave, just leave. Automatically you're going to lose the dressing room after you're kind of saying that, really, aren't you? Gavin.
So... Daniel Sack, one of the two.
The thing is, as well, we have a scenario where years ago we would absolutely love I'll give you Gordon Strachan was the perfect example. The amount of people that would speak to me on a daily basis about how they did not like Gordon Strachan. They wanted him to be a bit of a figurehead and rip into players, but Gordon Strachan, would rip into the players behind the scenes. He protected them in front of the media. And, sometimes you can't win. I think Lennon's decided, I need to let the fans know, I need to let the board know, I need to let the club know that There's players that don't want to be here, and there's a real good reason why things aren't clicking now. Whereas if you look at the previous year when Lennon was coming in, everybody was singing off the same hymn sheet. You know what I mean? And Chan was absolutely unbelievable under Lennon last year. Obviously not that year, but the year before. And he's a different player, and the same way Ryan Christie and the rest of them. But I think that for Celtic to go into this season thinking 3-5-2 was the answer, and they couldn't change it. I think that was a big mistake. And look, don't get me wrong, we changed to the diamond. And it certainly worked. I mean, we went to Ibrox, and I thought we were brilliant at Ibrox. And 9 times out of 10, you go to any part and you're not losing a goal like that with Callum McGregor. But the diamond worked. But I think the unfortunate thing is, you go away to Dubai, you come back, the media's on top of you. Lennon's under pressure as much as he is anyway, and it just once again it was just the snowball effect. It just got bigger and bigger and bigger. I want to also go on something that Gav said earlier on. I actually genuinely believe if Celtic had the opportunity to appoint somebody in October, when the Celtic fans were kind of seeing what was happening in front of us, I think Celtic would have done it. But the reason why I don't think they would have, and I was speaking to a few boys about this a few days ago, was I think Celtic would have at least had a conversation with, I don't know if it was a Gordon Strachan or a Martin O'Neill or whoever it may have been. Obviously, on the outside, it looks like we've been very loyal to Lennon, and look, they have been.
I think that's it as well. I think that's it as well, Chris. That it was all down to loyalty and his commitment to the club that he gave us over the years. Why didn't sack him?
Yeah, but I think that Celtic probably could not replace him. That's the thing. I think if Celtic had the opportunity to go, do you know what, Eddie Howe's available straight away, or a Martin O'Neill's available straight away, and maybe can give a bit of a kick to the team, then we'll go and do it. But as far as I'm led to believe, they spoke to a few people during that time period, and managers just didn't want to come in, and that's why I believe they persisted with Lennon. And I think it got to the stage where I think the board realised that it can't get any worse, and obviously it did. And I've obviously got a massive soft spot for Lennon. I think Lennon,
as everyone would, exactly.
Came into the club when Mowbray was let go, and definitely revitalised the club. But I just think that 10 years on, it's hard to then recreate that again, because when he was appointed, he had a siege mentality. When he was appointed, Brendan Rodgers had created a tremendous amount of work behind the scenes, and there's no doubt in my mind that a character of Lennon would have wanted to have done it his own way, and I think that can sometimes put players off when you start to change things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
Gavin, do you think it was like, with the standards we've seen, Brendan Rodgers came to the club, we've seen that we were coming practically an English Premier League club because of the experience in the Premier League. Do you see, was there kind of a more relaxed approach in the club when Lennon was appointment, that the standards dropped that Brendan Rodgers brought to the club?
Oh, well, obviously. The whole thing is, obviously, we've downsized with this. You can't say that Brendan Rodgers to, whoever's around about and available at the moment, who used to be the manager or something like that, is anywhere near the same level. Have a look at what Rodgers has done with Leicester. You know what I mean? And the one thing which drives me nuts every time I see Leicester play, I watch a bit of English football from time to time, a bit of eye candy, and you see that Timothy Castagne, or however it's said.
Yes.
So we were linked with him to bring him in, and the board said, no, we're not paying like 8-9 million euro or something like that. You watch him play for Leicester, he bosses it. Absolutely bosses it. He's an absolutely brilliant wee player. We could have
now about 20-30 million, I'd say.
Minimum, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Depending on what game you want him for. And then you've got it looks like Edouard's moving there at the moment. You have a look at John McGinn, how he's playing with Villa and everything like that. We cheaped out on a couple of 100,000 for that. You know what I mean? We go up and we meet Hibbs' valuation the first day. He's playing for Celtic. You know what I mean? And now with Bruni moving on, he's moving straight into that role and bossing the midfield. And we're having him for a few years, and we're selling him for Dembele dollars in a year or two's time. Absolutely ridiculous. Like what Lawler's done, seriously, to the club over the last couple of years. He basically drove Brendan out of the club. I'm not going to actually say anything nice about Rodgers, but because I'm deluded in the sense that I still never, ever, ever believed that he was going to leave. No, he's not going to leave. No, he's a Celtic fan. No,
that he'll stay for the 10,
No.
like, wouldn't you?
yeah, I will stay for the 10, Andy. I never
Yeah.
thought Tierney would leave either, and miss that the other. And it's like literally, I'm looking at the world through green and white glasses. Yeah, I mean, I felt naive and stupid. I remember I come home from work, I clicked on the computer, and up comes Brendan Rodgers at Leicester. Oh, stood up and I did a lap of the block. Went out, get some fresh air. I couldn't believe it. You know, and what I couldn't believe was A, that we let things get to that state, and B, that I was stupid enough to believe that he wouldn't go. Really hurt me. And since then, like, I mean, you have a look at it. We've sold so much of the tall timber, and we've replaced it with saplings. Like, I mean, now one thing going on with what Chris said with us playing the diamond and all that, we played it magnificently at Ibrox in January. You have a look at it. What was it in March or maybe early April or something when we played it there? John Joe Kenny, mate, is not a freaking wingback. My God, were we so exposed? Yeah, how the hell did he maintain his place in the team over and over and over again? And on the other side, that Diego Laxalt, like, he got hooked at half time, for crying out loud. The two of them were abysmal. And you can't play the diamond without decent wingbacks. And at the end of the day, you have a look at it. This is going back, and Chris did a fantastic chronology before of what went wrong. And, of course, it all started with Bolingoli. It started with him going away. And it was the SFA were sitting there waiting for the SPL, the whole red top media, to slam him. Boom, straight away. He was sent out of the club. We missed a couple of games. We're playing catch up, all the rest of it. Look what happened with Patterson. Patterson got caught by the police, man. By the police with a heap of others. And what happened? It was something like about 60 days or something. It was 2 months. They put in these dodgy appeals and this, that, the other, taking the absolute piss. And they got away with it. Laughing at our faces. Is a two-tiered form of judgment. It still pisses me off now. But the thing is, when Bolingoli left, you got to remember, we had Tierney in his position. We brought Bolingoli to replace Tierney. And then we had Bolingoli's backup in Taylor. You know what I mean, over there. Like, I mean, have a look at what we lost. You know what I mean? And then, you know, we sold Frimpong mid-year. My God, if you're going to sell Frimpong mid-year, yeah, I mean, why on earth do the clean out? Get rid of Christie, get rid of Edward. Yeah, I mean, if McGregor wants away, sell him. And why wasn't this done in the first window? It's just chaos.
I know, and you can imagine though what would have happened if he did get rid of the Deadwood. The fans would have been thinking, "What the hell is happening here?" I mean, you look at the contrast,
exactly.
But Bolingoli does what he does. Every single Celtic fan at that point were thinking, not a single soul can upset the potential of 10 in a row. So you applaud Neil Lennon for going, right, you move him on. I mean, look, the reality is, in the January, we had already tried to get Diego Laxalt. So Bolingoli, no doubt in my mind, would have known that Celtic were trying to bring in another left back anyway. So when Bolingoli does what he does and Lennon decides to move him on and make a bit of an example, once again, I'm not saying the way Gerrard dealt with his players breaching a COVID thing was right or wrong, but he had the opportunity to go down a different route, which was, okay, yep, they've done wrong, they're going to be punished, but I need to put the arm around them. Now, look at Bolingoli. Bolingoli's best mates, there's no doubt about it. You can go back and you can watch Celtic TV, the Celtic Instagram feeds. Bolingoli was best mates with Aaron Chams and
Edward.
Your Edwards. So if you're an Cham or an Edward and you see that your teammate has been made an example of, once again, it doesn't matter who you are, you take offence to that, and then before you know it, you're not on the manager's side.
Things started to crumble around then as well, Chris, didn't they? Around the Bolingoli thing, it started to really crumble, as you said there. And Cham and Edward kind of slip off then as well, didn't they?
Yeah, I think, look, don't get me wrong, I think still to this day Lennon did the right thing. You know, the story was that he gave the players a few days off. Bolingoli brought protocol, and Lennon realised that, look, this just doesn't happen on my watch. And I think he did do the right thing at the right time. I also believe that if Bolingoli was part of his plans, he would have probably done exactly what Gerrard had done. But he wasn't part of his plans. He had Greg Taylor. They wanted Laxalt 6 months prior. They were getting Laxalt in, and it made sense to move him on and try and get him out of the club. And once again, I just think it didn't. For Lennon, for the players, it just never worked, because then you've then got 2 games postponed. You're playing catch up. You can't find the right formation. and it once again just keeps on going on and going on and going on. But it's obviously in the past now, isn't it?
Marcus, just going what Gavin was saying there about the different standards in the Scottish FA. Like we spoke about that the other day about the Scotland team, the lads being in close contact with the fella Fleck, and they're saying that he wasn't, and it's different standards, Mark. Isn't it? That we've spoken numerous times in the podcast, but it doesn't seem to be changing anytime soon, Mark. So it doesn't.
No, it definitely doesn't look as if it's going to be changing. But we've certainly been held to a different standard, and really not just Rangers, but the Scottish football. We've been held to different standards over this COVID stuff and that. I mean, there was Aberdeen had players that get into trouble out of it as well. When they get suspended, but still wasn't really. No matter anything we done, we're getting into trouble for. I mean, people were against the Dubai trip, and I think that was just blown out of proportion, as I've said before, Paul, because we had the permission to go and do it, and then there was a couple of Scott Brown sitting next to Neil Lennon having a beer, and then fast forward a few weeks, and you've got Rangers players at parties, all stoning, mixing with beers and with total strangers. It was just, it was weird, but Celtic never come out and question these things. They don't have the kind of backbone. See if the shoe was another foot and Rangers had treated it the way Celtic had been, Rangers would have had statement after statement after statement about it.
They double down straight away. Double down and fucking start yelling and screaming. Oh, it's everyone else's fault. Oh, you're victimising me. Oh, the boys were just, being social. Oh, in this day and age, blah, blah, blah. Honest to God, have a look at them in friggin' George Square. There's bloody 15,000 of them going around there. Yeah. Freaking bottles at the police, calling everyone in a paramedic's uniform a Fenian bastard, freaking pissing everywhere they could find, beating the living stuffing out of each other, and then what happens? They come out and say, "Oh, you can't say these it's victimisation of Rangers."
But would happen in Australia or Sweden if something like that happened? There was a crowd causing that kind of chaos in a public place.
In Australia, much different to Sweden. In Sweden, it'd be like, oh my God, in Australia, there'd be the freaking SWAT team would be out, mate. Honestly,
it wouldn't happen. It just wouldn't happen.
No.
Any trouble like that at your matches, Chris? The Celtic Australian matches. I seen a great one there. On your Twitter page, the Celtic Australians ultras are out, and there was two fellas underneath an umbrella. It was brilliant. I thought it was brilliant. Just go back to your club. Was it founded on the 10th of April in 2014? Am I right?
Yes, it was. So look, basically, the formation of the club was very, very authentic. Bunch of boys that had been playing 5-a-side and 11-a-side for many, many years, and a few guys decided, right, look, why don't we start our own league now? I think what we wanted to do is we wanted to be part of the Perth Celtic Supporters Club. We thought there was an in there, and try and build that brand, and it just didn't really work out the way we wanted it to work out. So we kind of went back to the drawing board, and we thought to ourselves, well, you know what, let's do something a bit different. Let's go and do something a bit more radical. And we came up with the badge, the name. The format, everything was completely off a blank canvas, and we wanted to create a football club genuinely for everybody. Anybody could come down. Didn't matter if you were a tremendous football player. Didn't matter if you just wanted to be part of the squad and just knock the ball about on a Wednesday night. We genuinely had that ethos, and what we found, which was very, very important, was after a couple of weeks, everybody, and I mean every single body, it feel like a big family. There was no individuals. There was no. Everybody was basically on the team, and they wanted to win. I think we started off in the Metro Second Division, if that serves me right.
Yeah, you've made your way up.
And look, we could have easily started off a lot lower because, like I said, a lot of boys came together that didn't that hadn't played with each other before, boys that had literally only played five-a-sides, and guys like myself that had been playing football since the age of 5, and we thought, we'll start off in Div 2, and we got ourselves up to the Premier, and in the year that we were actually in the Premier, we got to a semi-final of the Cup, and I think we finished 4th, which at the start of the year we were probably favourites to be in the relegation zone, but it certainly comes to other weight. We brought in a few players that done exactly what we needed, and it was brilliant. And the club is just a tremendous club to be a part of, absolutely tremendous. And you can see with the Twitter page, 7,000 followers from as I always say to the boys, a bunch of guys from Glasgow. To go over to Australia and create a brand like that. You'll probably notice once you do a little bit more, unless you have done already, that a lot of feedback. We get a lot of great feedback from people in Scotland regarding the way the strips look, the way the badge.
Yes, looks. I saw the white away strip there as well is nice as well. I was looking at all the kids. It's really nice, and the club really keeps with the foundation Celtic as well. You set up your own kind of food bank as well within the football club. You set up your own food bank.
Food bank. I think we also had the Kano Foundation as sponsors, if you want to call it that. And the first strip, I believe, and maybe possibly the second season. So look, we definitely used Celtic as a template where we wanted to, as I say, anybody could play. I think even in the second last year, a Rangers fan came down. So and he wanted to be part of it. He had mates that were playing in the same team, and as I said, there was no animosity. But no, we did a lot of things that the same as what we'd like to think that the Celtic brand does. Charity, helping others, and really open to everybody.
And Gavin, I know soccer's not the one sport in Australia. More than like it's the Aussie rules, I presume. But is football is the football getting bigger and bigger within Scotland, Gavin? The soccer
in Australia.
Australia.
Yeah. Very much so. Look, put it this way. I know it's called soccer in Ireland as well, but we call it football. If you're a football fan or a football player, call it football. But once upon a time it was soccer. I played 11 years as a player myself, and never to any great level, but loved every single minute of it. And I'm 43 now. I'm a little bit fat and the knees are fucked, so I can't do it.
That's all of us.
Oh man, seriously. But the one thing, I gave football up in my late 30s when I was watching 18, 20-year-olds just run past me. It was like, oh God. Seriously, thank God that's not on camera. But yeah, but I played I played 11 years, and when I started playing, I was a kid. Obviously, it was very small. If you're in the eastern states, and if you're in New South Wales or Queensland, people play rugby league, rugby union, and then they play AFL. If you're in any of the other states, it's all AFL. But the world game, as we call it in Australia, football, it's played in every state, especially among some ethnic communities, people from the southern and Baltic and Balkan countries and the like. Brought the game over after World War II. Mostly, the Anglo-Celtic people played the traditional English sports. But as migration has come on from here, there, the other, of course, these people play football, and it's seeped into here, there, everywhere. I love football. Football's my thing, and I love to watch it. I love to play it. I'd give anything to be able to play it again the way I did. I still love to go out for a kick, and the like, and have a giggle or a little bit of five-a-side or something. It's great fun. But for mine, there's nothing like playing on a full field. 90 minutes, 3 points up for grabs. It's what gets you up in the morning.
Mm-hmm. Mark, just moving on before we talk about the football side of things. Just give lads a brief about Celtic rumours and how you came about setting up the podcast and stuff.
Well, the lads obviously don't know I had an accident at my work years ago and I need crutches to get about, so I'm actually stuck in the house most of the time. And I was just posting on the Celtic Rumours forum, for a while I was just recuperating after an operation, and then they asked me if I wanted to help out and just edit on it, just making sure they don't like all the Hun talk, they don't like they don't want all the sectarian racist bigoted stuff to give, do you know what I mean, arguing about that. Just basically keep an eye on that, because most of them are all English and they don't a lot of the stuff is getting posted and they didn't understand it. So I was just started doing that, but that's about 10 years I've been doing that, and we've built up a great wee community on it. It's a cracking bunch of lads. A lot of them are in the live chat now, and a podcast is something I've been thinking about trying to do for a couple of years, but it was just doing a confidence thing, because of the way I talk. I'm not confident in the way I speak and that. And then I mentioned that we do live rolling chats for the Celtic games and that, and I mentioned it on that. I'd been thinking about it, and the guys were into it, and says I'd just get a crack, and then I get talking to Paul about it, and just all of them, basically they all helped me, encouragement and that, just to no bother about the way I speak and things, and just go on with it, and it just went from there. I mean, we've only been doing it 2 months, Paul, and I think we're doing brilliant for what we're doing, mate. Honestly, I'm really proud of it and really pleased with the way it's gone.
Well done, mate. Well done.
Very much.
So we're just going to move on. Excuse my pronunciation. I'm still getting used to his name. It's Ange Postecoglou. Am I right?
No.
Anyway.
Oh God! Don't say that out loud again. Okay, two things. Postecoglou, but the easiest way to go with it is Ange, Big Ange, or Posto.
Yeah,
so
Ange. That's what we came to the agreement as, Big Ange. So
you saw Posto in the press conference. What's Posto doing? Hey, come here, Posto. Give us an autograph. Or Ange, Big Ange. But anyway, let's just go with Ange. Ange is what questions do you have on him? Because obviously we know him like back to front. He's been a big part.
People are just kind of looking like, what's his style, what's his recruitment, and what kind of character is he, and what will he bring to Celtic, Gavin, you know?
Honestly, what he'll bring is pig-headed innovation. I remember when we went to the World Cup in 2014, and he wasn't involved with the qualifying for us. He was bossing it with Brisbane as the manager. Actually, I think he was there at Melbourne at that time, after having just won everything that's possible with Brisbane Roar. And we had a bloke called Pim Verbeek from Holland, and we played 2 games back-to-back against Brazil and against France, and we got beaten 6-0 in both of them. Absolutely played off the park, horsed really badly. And he got sacked, and they brought Posto in as the gaffer. And he had 2 months or something like that to forge a team and bring them about. Now, there's some parallels to Celtic's current situation, because there was so much deadwood. We're talking about, this is a team with, Lucas Neal and Mark Viduka and Harry Kuehl still in it, well past their use-by dates. Got a whole lot of players that he couldn't use. He then went in a couple of friendlies, got the best of the rest, ran them for a few training camps and took them up against Chile, Holland and Spain. And we went toe-to-toe with those teams. We didn't park the bus. We got beat 2-1. We had a goal taken off. Tim Cahill was like about, a bee's knee offside versus Holland. We were the only team in the entire World Cup that led Holland on the field. They got beaten on penalties, but we were up 2-1 against them. Threw that away. Matty Ryan, goalkeeper, had an absolute shocker. We lost 3-2. Against Spain in a dead rubber, we got beat 3-0. But even then, went out and tried to win the game. Now, people were saying, okay, against this team, against that team, you're going to be a little bit more defensive. And you just said to them, mate, it's not going to happen. We're going to go out there. We're going to play proper football. Whatever the case, whoever the opponent, he picks a team that he believes will win. He doesn't try for draws. He doesn't try for he certainly doesn't concede that he's going to lose. He goes out there and attacks from the get-go. I've got a huge amount of respect for Ange Postecoglou. He's got the respect of like 90% of the Australian footballing community. The people that don't like him were, funnily enough, the people in the FFA and the people in the media absolutely slaughtered him behind his back. And he got shot of it, just had enough of it. After qualifying us for the World Cup for 2018, he quit. So, and he was basically in tears. Had enough. I'm not going to get treated like this. I've qualified the team. We had a lot of draws in that in that qualifying pool. A lot of people saying, why aren't we winning against this team? Why aren't we winning against that team? Fact of the matter is, what we called in Australia is our golden generation. Those players like Neil and Viduka and Bresciano and Schwarzer and the like, they'd retired. And unfortunately, like with the A-League, since it's come in, it has absolutely no youth platform at all. It just doesn't promote anything. It's very good for those who are either some old player that's retiring, like they're going to the MLS, and it's very good for a lot of journeymen in the middle. But it's absolutely terrible for the young kids coming through, making their debuts at 17 and then blasting onto the scene. When we had the old NSL, we had a lot of small clubs, but all they could do, because there was no big there was no money whatsoever in TV. All they could do was earn money through transfers. They put everything into youth, everything. So it would come through as youth. As soon as a player looked half decent, 17, 18, 19, straight into the first team. Next thing you know, the teams of Croatian heritage, Italian and Greek and people have got these names which obviously sound the way they do in their parents' countries, and they'd come and buy them. So they were getting transfers all the time from Greece, Croatia, from Italy, from here, there, the other, for millions. We have no one coming through. Ange had to go and pick a whole lot of players that had been frozen out by a lot of giants, and then, take them up against the best in world football. And he did a great job. When it comes to Celtic, it's the one thing he's going to need that he won't get his time. Seriously, because the media is going to be on his back very quickly.
Straight away, yeah, exactly.
He's going to have to come in. He's going to have to sell a lot of players, buy a lot of players, forge a team, and then go forward. Now, we didn't get out of our group. We didn't win a game at that World Cup, but we played some of the best football I've ever seen Australia play. 6 months later, we went to we hosted the Asian Cup in 2015, January 2015, and we won it. You got to look at it like, this is the thing. He started off with a team of players, and in 6 months' time, won a confederational trophy. Believe me, he's got the credentials to turn nothing into something.
Chris, anything else to add, or would you kind of mostly agree with what Gavin said?
I mean, I think Gavin's done a great job in describing him, definitely. I mean, obviously, I've been in Australia now for, I think it'll be 9 years in November. And believe it or not, you become a bigger Celtic fan when you actually are not in the country. I'm pretty sure Gavin will agree with me. You just, wake up in the morning, you just live and breathe, wanting to find out about the club. But what my take on Ange Postecoglou is that there must be something that he's got, right? Because look, at the end of the day, I think the board have been very inept, and obviously most fans that you hear on Twitter or on other podcasts don't really have a lot of good things to say about the board. But you've got to take a step back and think that there must be something this guy's got, because if this guy was just an average manager, there's many average managers in Scotland that could have come in, weeks ago. So I think he's certainly got something now. What I've been able to find out, I'm in Perth, Australia, and I'm quite there's quite a lot of individual coaches that just do the odd job for some semi-pro teams and for some pro teams. And what I was able to find out is that he's been wanting to manage in Europe for quite some time. He's really wanted to make that step into European football, whether it's Italy or Spain or England or whatever it may be. He's been wanting to do that. Now, I know that he had a stint in Greece. But I think obviously he wants to try his hand at something a bit more meatier. I believe, and I could be wrong when I say this, and Gavin might correct me, but there's another player now, manager, Popovic, who I believe was managing in Australia at one point, and the first European job that he got offered, which was in Turkey, I believe, and I will not even attempt to to say the name.
Well, if you can't say
but
it,
I
don't
think-
ask me to say it anyway,
No,
Chris.
no,
I'm out,
trust me, there's
well
no
out
chance
there.
out. There's no bunch. But he went to Turkey, I believe, and it was the first job that he'd been offered, and he just jumped at it. And once again, I'm only going based on the information and the research that I've done. That I think he left not that long, but either before the season or he was sacked not that long after into the season. And I think that Ange doesn't want to do the same thing. I think he wants to, take his time and really assess what he can do. Now he's a bit of a mixture of old school and modern. He is, if you were to look at even a semi-pro game or a pro game now in Australia, every single guy can run up and down a park like it's no tomorrow. They're absolute athletes over here. I mean, do yourself a favour and watch an Aussie rules game, and you'll see guys that run like no one's business. So I'm absolutely convinced that if he does get the time and the players buy into what he does, the team will be fit. They'll be fit. They'll be ready to go. They'll be strong. And I think if they buy into him, that's when his modern attributes come into play. Once again, been told by people that I speak to in Perth that he's an extremely modern manager in the sense that he's extremely tactical. He's on the training park. He sets up his team really, really well. I'm not going to say similar to Brendan Rodgers, but obviously, as a Celtic fan, we can only in the last 5 to 10 years really have a slight idea of what that must be like. Because I reckon, Brendan was very, very articulate, and I think this guy has got that in abundance. And great man manager. Apparently, if he likes you, then it's just a match made in heaven. He absolutely will back you to the hilt. What I think will happen, in my honest opinion, is that if he goes in and he hits the ground running the same way Martin Hill did, I think the fans will take him, no problem. But I think if he goes in there and it's a Tony Mowbray moment and he's just waiting for things to happen and there's no players taking the game by the scruff of the neck, then what you'll find is he'll back the players in front of the media, and that's when your Celtic fans will start to go ask questions. Well, hold on a minute here, he's not playing well, you're backing him up, and everything that goes along with that. And I also believe as well that his agent lives in Perth. His agent's from Perth, and I believe he's based in London. And I think
That's this guy.
it must.
It's Varane and all the
I would.
stars in that
I wouldn't know. That name does ring a bell. I'm not going to lie to you and say that I definitely know.
Bolly, I read something about it yesterday. Just say that.
Well, I believe, and I was only told this today, is that I think his agent is from Perth, but he's based in London, and I believe that before COVID, Ange was in London with his agent, if you want to call it that, and he was networking and he was meeting clubs and doing what he was doing, which most managers do when they're out of work and they want to obviously network. And I believe that he has had the opportunity to manage in England, whether it's been a championship side or a League One side, or maybe the opportunity to manage in the second league in Spain. But I think he's waited for the right moment. And obviously he's part of the City group. He's done really, really well with Yokohama. And look, I'll admit, 2 or 3 weeks ago, I wasn't a happy man when the Eddie Howe deal was on the rocks. But I'm utterly convinced that this guy can come in, and if we get behind him, which most of us normally do, I'm convinced that he's got a temperament and the skill set to handle not only the club but also the other aspects, which the Goldfish Bowl, the media. I believe he will handle it no problem. We just need to get behind him, and obviously, I think make no bones about it. Every single journalist over here, every single sports media guy or woman, all they are saying is that he is the best kept secret in Australia. His teams play tremendous attacking football, and like I say, they're fit. So here's hoping. And we're talking here as if he's already the manager.
Good fortune again on to Celtic forward line.
We've done that for weeks with Eddie Howe. Chris.
Exactly.
I don't about it
So
for weeks.
but the reality is that there's been a lot of talk about it, and it does seem like it's a done deal now. And I'll tell you right now, it's the Celtic brand is going to get even bigger now if he does make a trip. And I'm also led to believe that he's going with his assistant and his first team coach. So he is bringing the staff over. I think it's on
Hutchison, I think, yeah.
So I think that's a good thing.
Just Gavin, there were myself and Mark and a few lads on the live chat were trying to think like, how did the link kind of come between Pete Gadge and Celtic, or do you know anything about how he was recommended to Celtic or in that light?
With Postecoglou, well, put it this way: if again going back on what I've said, that we're not getting the whole story. Look at it, what has been reported. They've been tracking him for months. You know what I mean? Blah blah blah. Like they've been tracking someone for months who doesn't automatically qualify to play to manage in the Champions League qualifiers, which are in a matter of weeks. I don't buy this story. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, if you really want, how do I think they've sourced him? Okay, Peter Law's sitting at his desk. Oh my God. Wait a tick. I'll ring Manchester City and see what they can do. Okay, I'll wait a tick. 1 second, mate. Okay, is it Boyata, or is it Paddy Roberts, or is it Frimpong, or is it God knows how many players we've sourced from there. Whenever we need someone, we don't have any idea what to do. No scouting network, no, director of football, no one who's really got any idea what to do. Pedro just calls friggin' Sheikh Mansour, and Sheikh Mansour says, here's my fourth choice, you can have him. Yeah, I mean, this is basically essentially what we've got here. Okay, that said, the fourth choice at Manchester City can still pretty much walk into any premiership team in Scotland and say that place is mine. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Yeah, I mean, I actually ran a poll on Twitter on my Indie Celts thing saying, okay, what would you like to see with relation to the City Group? If the City Group bought us, would you like it or not? And I put yes, no, and need more info. I think need more info won. Or maybe no, but they were all about 35%. Every one of them, like no one's. It's like God, we don't want to be a franchise. We don't want to be what was it? Legacy fans or this, that, the other. But at the same time, there's that money on offer and there's that quality with them. Yeah, I mean, the facts of the matter are that how did they get him? I believe it's a panic buy. But when you've got you've put all your eggs in one basket. I'm not buying this. We've been tracking him for months. He's our second choice. I'm buying they put all their eggs in one basket. They dropped the basket. They wrecked the hoose. And then what have they done? They've gone out there and they've said, okay, they've gone back to, those that have habitually helped us. I'm not complaining about that. I just put this off on a little tangent, and this is one thing, like, should Ange come in, here's a couple of the positives. One, as myself and Chris has said, he is a gaffer. He is a manager. There's a man in there. Yeah, I mean, he's got trophies to prove it. He's got lots of them. He's got trophies in Japan. He's got trophies. Winning the Japanese league is a far harder thing to do than winning the Scottish Premier League.
Yes.
Unpopular opinion. There's 6 or 7 teams that can win that. I mean, have a look at how many teams have won that over the last 20 years, mate. It's not 2. Yeah, I mean, or 3 if you're counting the Newco. But at the it was just that I had to take it. But at the same time, you've got to understand that is a very, very competitive league. 20 teams in it. There's 120 million people in Japan. Football's the major sport. I mean, and Japanese play a brilliant brand of football. I love watching the Blue Samurai play football. I love it when Australia play against them as well. It's just absolute brilliant matches. I was lucky enough to go to Saitama and watch Australia play Japan. It was a 1-1 draw. We were leading 1-0, and an absolute favourite of Postecoglou, Matt Mackay, handballed in the box and gave away a penalty for 1-1. It's actually something Chris said before, that Ange has his favourites. He's very loyal to his squad. If you come in, you can do a role for him. Your name's the first on the team list, regardless of what everyone says. I mean, and he's going to be a huge influence on players like, who are very much on the edge. Players like Mikey Johnson, for instance. We don't really, now that Moy's going away, who's going to be out there on the left? Are we buying someone, or are you going to nail that spot down? Because he'll give him the opportunity to do it. And if he does, he'll have his name on the sheet before everyone, like Forrest does, for example. But the thing is, this is one thing which Ange really does bring to the table. He has his contacts in Japan, he has his contacts in Australia, and he has his contacts with the City Group. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like he can pluck the best out of the A League. He can pluck the best out of the J League, and he can go up to the City Group and say, "Oh, can I have 1, 2, 3 on full?" On a permanent transfer with a big sell on, and who can you give me on loan? We can rebuild this club, especially when you're thinking they're talking about odds on away to away to Leicester for 15 million today. We get similar money for Aya, get a bit for Christie. We have 40, 50 million to spend. This man can build a football club quickly. I promise you.
Just go by that. Sorry, Chris, walk away.
No, I was just going to say in the back of that what I find interesting is this time last year, we heard that Tom Roderick was leaving, that he was maybe going to go to Dubai, or he was going to go elsewhere, whatever it was. There was a fee agreed, but he couldn't get the personal terms done. Well, now a year ahead, and there's talk of Ayer going, there's talk of Eddie obviously going, Ryan Christie going, this player not coming back, but there's not been one word said about Tom Roderick. And look, once again, I'm not saying that there's any way I've known this for a fact, but I think that's interesting that if there's no rumour of Tom moving on or wanting to leave, and he thinks that he's coming in, it's a great opportunity for Tom.
I think the best out of it.
We actually spoke a bit.
Exactly.
Rogic came out just before, a couple of days before Big Angie's name got linked, and said that he wasn't going away with Australia this summer. He wanted to stay here.
That's what I'm saying. So he may have known some things. And look, there's a podcast that you'll probably know called Open Goal in Scotland, and they had a Jackson Irvine on, and Jackson Irvine, this must have been recorded probably months before even Eddie Howe deal broke down. And he could not speak about this guy, Postecoglou, any higher. Said that his coaching methods were tremendous, and he was just a great guy to work for. And I just think it's interesting that Tom Roderick, of all players who isn't known to be head down and digging in. Tom's a luxury player, there's no doubt about it. But I just think that the fact that he might have known that this might be happening, and he's not going.
Hopefully, he's putting it about the squad. Put you're saying about Jackson.
Exactly.
Rogic is saying to the rest of the squad, yeah, this guy's a real deal. Don't.
This guy, aye.
Wait, take him in and see what he does.
Just going on, Roger. Like a lot of managers that played for Celtic are saying like that he can't last 60 minutes on the pitch. Like, is he the same in Australia, or is he able to finish a game in Australia, Gavin or Chris?
Not really.
On you go, Gav. On you go.
Not anymore.
I think in the World Cup he did. I remember him coming off, and fun enough, is it Daniel Arzani coming on?
Daniel Arzani, yeah.
I mean, when Daniel Arzani signed for Celtic on that loan deal, I'm thinking, that guy, it was unbelievable for us.
It was one of the most unluckiest transfers for him, wasn't it? Breaking his leg and then making his debut, breaking his leg. What a football player he is, by the way, and that's what I'm saying about what Gavin was saying about having the gems in Australia. If there's players like that who move to other clubs out with the Australian League, he's going to have a great scope to get these players, because what you find is very, very good Australian players tend to not really picked or tapped up, let's say, by the best clubs in England. But what they do is they go to an Italian team, maybe a mid-level Italian team. They go to a German team, and they really develop there, and they're good technical players. And as I said, when Arzani came in, I thought he was the real deal. But no, I think Rogic wasn't lasting. But that's the thing with Rogic. He's a luxury player. He's a number 10. Yeah. You give him the ball, 9 times out of 10 he'll do something with it. Because we were speaking on the pod there before that if there was one player who loved playing in the Scottish Cup, it was Rogic, because he just stood up in those one games and did something special for the. Do you know, he'd just pop up out of nowhere with a goal, like you know.
If we can get the best out of him, it'll be good.
Just going by Ganj, like, with the youth system being on a shambles as well at Celtic at the moment. Like, we don't have a kind of a clear path for the youth getting into the first team. Gavin, do you think he's the manager to rectify that situation? Will he help the youth have a path getting into the first team?
Okay, I think this comes into two levels. First of all, will we get this Colts up in like the the Lowland League? If that comes about, like, I mean, I think that we're going to have a great deal of recruitment in what you could call projects. If not, basically we've got a lot of players that either have to go out on loan to get any football or have to be promoted into the football team. I think like the obvious one is Karamoko. I mean, are we just going to ruin this boy, or are we going to give him his chance? The one thing is you can see like players, you know, Angie is going to promote youth, and obviously he's going to be tapped on the shoulder and said, you know, have a look at this boy here. Like, I mean, he's a special talent. He'll see them all when they come in, which ones can do a role for him. But look, I honestly think that not having the development league in Scotland is a scandal. At the same time that we don't have it in Australia, I can't actually, you know, talk down to Scotland or Scottish people about this, because the facts of the matter are my own country. It blames geography on this. You know, we're too big, it's too far to move, the players cost too much money. In Scotland, like, I mean, you can catch a bus to most of those games. Yeah, I mean, like, even if you're away to Aberdeen, you're a 4-hour drive or something like that. Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous that the youth aren't playing each other, and it's a huge problem. So have a look at your players, like even like Ewan Henderson and that.
Exactly.
Not like his brother Liam. He's too good to be let go, but he's not good enough to get into the team. You know, boys need their opportunities. I remember we were talking about what was that? Okaflex, Armstrong Okaflex, and this, that, the other. Where's he these days?
He's must be linked with Aston Villa.
Oh,
Oxford Flex at the moment they're looking at him. Yeah,
but
you know, that's another.
We're not looking at him.
Yeah, that's it. All the players, that's like all the teams see a big development in Celtic's youth. Like we've seen Bayern Munich this year taking a lot of young players off us and things like that. We seem to kind of look beyond that at the moment. You know, we don't have, like, we used to have Tierney coming in, we'd Callum Mack coming in, we'd James Forrest coming through the lines. But no, I was speaking on a previous podcast with Mark that we actually don't have a recognised striker in our youth development that can take a step up to the first team.
Oh, look, this is going to be a massive problem when you think about it. Let's just look at it this way, lads. You know, Edouard is, you know, said to be away today. Okay,
yes.
Griffiths is entering the last year of his contract and has attracted, you know, attention from Hibs and from Aberdeen. If any bid in the hundreds of thousands arrives on our desk, we're going to take that. We're looking at taking Albion Ayeti and like God knows who's maybe even Fakun Yusuf Bayo. Yeah, I mean, as our strikers. The next thing.
Exactly. That's what you'd be going into the qualifiers with at the moment, can't we?
Yeah, you know, that's the truth of it. You know what I mean? Like, who have we got?
You know, like, realistic, like, you're looking at the qualifiers, they're starting on the 20th of July. If Big Andrew's going to come in, he's going to have to quarantine for 2 weeks. It's going to be about 3 weeks he's going to have with the first team before the qualifiers start, Gavin. Like, it's very little time to get recruitment in that time, get up to gel, isn't it?
Oh, it's very little. It's scandalously little time. And again, this is why I do not believe that he was our second choice manager. Yeah, I mean, or that we've been tracking him for months. If we've been tracking him for months, he's going to have to come from a country where he's going to spend a fortnight, you know, in quarantine.
Exactly.
Then we're going to have to wait several weeks to see if he can actually stand in the dugout and manage the team. What due diligence is that by the people that have got him as our number 2? Like, I mean, who was number 3 and 4 for crying out loud?
Because that's what I'm saying. Myself and Mark were saying along, Mark, weren't we, that Keane was probably next in line. Roy Keane was going to be next in line.
I thought that after how we both said it, here it comes into it, Roy Keane will be up again, but As Gavin said, I don't believe it. I'm not saying Celtic weren't aware of this guy or that. Can he kid? Do you know what I mean? Just his reputation or who he was. But I agree with Gavin. I don't think there's been like any workings going on behind the scenes for months to get him in the door or anything like that. It was a knee-jerk reaction to how turning is done.
Aye.
Like, you have to blame the board here, Gavin, like for that, like just
You can't blame anyone else.
Eddie Howe for taking it on his word, like it did, like it happened so many times to Celtic, like taking someone's word, hasn't it? And they just never learn from their mistakes, like this board, like. And my main concern is about this board now is that Peter Laurel still seems to be involved in things that's going on at the club when he's leaving at the end of the season. You know,
seems he is involved.
When is his last day? Is it this?
The 30th of June, 1st of July. It's like whatever way you want to kind of look at it. It's when he officially is at the job.
Okay. I thought that was it.
Takes over as chairman.
He's taking over as chairman.
I'm kidding.
Seriously, I'm going to the fridge and grabbing a couple of cans.
Jeez.
But it is a bit disconcerting that we're once again, I've not the exact numbers here, but we must be 30 days away for a friendly. We must be 20 odd, maybe 25 days away for pre-season.
20th of June is I think is our first. The 19th of June is going to be our first pre-season match when we go down to the training camp in Wales. That's when my fear of that is that Pecan more than likely will have to quarantine. It's going to take another couple of weeks for his licence to get sorted, and that the likes of Kennedy and Strachan will be still involved with the team at the pre-season. You know,
they must be. But you think about who. I mean, if you were to just play a 4-2-3-1, let's just say, for example, you're going to probably reinstate Barkas unless he moves on. We've not got a right back apart from Ralston. Ralston's not trusted anymore. There's no point in having him there. Greg Taylor will be a left back. I don't think Julian's fit. Stephen Welsh is obviously there. Ayer's going to go. Brown's away. Do you really play McGregor as a sitting midfielder? But you want him more forward. Forrest is just... And another thing as well that nobody's mentioned is that when the pre-season games are starting and we're in amongst it, we've got McGregor, Forrest, Christie.
In the Euros.
They're at the Euros. So
yes.
A nucleus of our team are going to come back for the Euros and they're going to need a bit of a rest. So it's just, you kind of hard this to take a step back and go, all right, take a deep breath, calm down. But it's really disappointing that a club the size of Celtic have allowed this to happen. Once again, hindsight's a wonderful thing. We could have let Lennon go in October. We could be sitting here all celebrating 10 in a row. That also might have not worked. And I think, in my opinion, if you were to back me into a corner, I just don't think they had anybody to replace Lennon in October, hence the reason why he stayed on. Now, the whole Dubai thing, I know we've had a brief chat about that earlier on, but even though it was okayed by the government and Celtic probably spent a large sum of money making sure that players were isolated on planes and buses, it just was. I just think it sent out the wrong message based on people not being able to leave their houses. These players get paid a copious amount of money. They drive the best of cars. They've got cracking houses probably, and these players, in my opinion, could have been told, "Look, we've got a title to win. Yeah, you do deserve a little bit of a break, but we're just going to can it." And once again, you come back, and then Julian gets COVID. The players then need to isolate, which obviously, once again, you compare that to the Scotland scenario, it can be a bit two-faced. But I'm just absolutely, scunnered with the board. That's the one department that I'm absolutely scunnered by. Lennon, once again, don't know what happened in the training field. We don't know what happened. Players want to move. They might have not got a move. They decided to stay because the move that they really wanted might not happen until now. So you just don't know. But the board, in my opinion,
you can't put all the blame just in one man, Chris. You can't. Oh, Lennon, there's something bigger than Lennon that's going on in this club, like, isn't there?
No. And look, don't be wrong, he has to hold his hands up as well, which obviously he's not done, and say, look, I need to take a large part of the blame, because at the end of the day, he is the manager. But I just think that the board in February should be like, look, we've got a great opportunity. We're not going to win the league. We might go further in the Scottish Cup. We don't know. We're no longer in Europe. Now will give me opportunity to really sift through everybody that we can interview, and we'll go ahead and do it. And once again, like Gav said, I do not think for 1 minute that Eddie Howe did not move to Celtic because 3 or 4 members of his backroom staff told him the night before, actually, I'm not really going to move on.
Yeah, we were talking about that. We were saying that it's a bit of impossible to believe that Eddie Howe just approached his backroom staff when the Bournemouth season just ended. Do you know what I mean? You can't believe that.
No chance that would have happened. I think what's happened is Eddie Howe has been given assurances that his backroom staff are coming, but they couldn't go because of the whole Bournemouth playoffs thing. Mm-hmm. And I think that when Eddie went to speak to whoever it was, Don Mackay, Peter Lawwell, Desmond, I think that once again, I think he's come out and said that there was a lack of vision for the club. You've not got a head of recruitment. You've not got a chief scout. I think you have got one chief scout, if I'm being honest. Did they want to keep John Kennedy and Strachan? It's just one thing after another, and the board need to do the right thing and get Ange on board. If you want to keep Kennedy and Strachan for the pre-season, come out and let the fans know the structure of the club and how we go forward. Because it's just not been good enough as far as I'm concerned.
It's like Gavin, the way it's looking at Celtic never kind of evolved with the modern times of football. The director of football or head of recruitment, the director of football is kind of it was big at the start of the season. We were going to bring in direct, but that kind of position always kind of died out. There's kind of been no kind of names kind of linked to that again. Again, we thought it was Harkin, but he said he was staying with Manchester City. Richard Hughes was supposed to come, but we thought that he was part of the Howie deal that fell through. Is this a role do you think we're going to fill, or are we going to wait?
Okay, look, put it this way. I've said this for a long time, that basically Peter Law has been acting as a de facto director of football for some time at the club. He runs around like it's not just like he's a CEO or something like that, but he's the man that how many times have we had players like May and Chavette and even Bayo and that they're bought. How many wingers did we have? Ronnie Dyler bitched about how many midfielders do you want? I mean,
yes. Remember Shepard was saying that, and Roger said how many wingers do I have in the team? Yeah.
He didn't sign the player. So basically, that is being signed by what we call a director of football. But basically, the director of football was the CEO. Now, when the manager questions the players that are coming in, their careers are going to be truncated. That they're not going to get, the amount of the amount of exposure to the first team that they'd possibly like. What I think we need is, first of all, to get the manager in, for the manager to pick his backroom stuff. If we choose to go with the director of football, for that director of football to be someone that Dominic Mackay and, say, Ange Postecoglou sit down and agree upon. So there isn't this friction, and we're not going to see this nonsensical approach to transfers like we did with the McGinn affair. I mean, where we just get the transfers over the line. I brought up earlier with Timothy Castan and this, that, the other. Celtic have identified a good many good players. Even some of the ones at Ibrox, we identified. You might remember when there was that leaked team sheet from years ago of players that were coming in and this, that, the other. And we were talking about Aribo. We were even talking about Borna Barisic and this, that, the other.
Yes.
These players came in for a song to Rangers and bossed the league. I mean, our identification has been poor, and I believe that we do need a DOF, but I believe it needs to be one that works hand in hand with the manager and the CEO.
Do you think? Is that would Big Ange be the type of person that would kind of follow with the board, Gavin, if things don't go his way, that he's not able to find players and stuff like that?
Okay, this is an interesting one, because the first thing is, in the first year, he has to be given absolute funds.
Exactly.
I mean, he can't come over here and then be given tuppence and expected to, to win the league and this, that, the other, let alone qualify for Europe. he's got to be given funds immediately. And, obviously in these COVID times, we don't want to put the club under. So it's funds that we've got in surplus. But what we have in surplus must be given to the manager. Yeah, I mean, the money that we bring in from player sales that will inevitably happen this summer have to be given to help him develop a team that can go out there and win games in the autumn and beyond. That said, next year, he might not get the same amount of backing. He's probably not going to get like a 20, 30 million pound war chest.
Well, he's building a structure anyway from that. So just build on it, but get the right players in on that to rebuild it, because we haven't been doing that. What we've been doing over years is just basically filling the squad.
Oh,
Well,
put it this way: if it comes down to like he's wanting to buy the best of the rest, like outside of the Glasgow teams, like we did with, again, go back to McGinn. Obviously, he's the best player in the league outside of Celtic and Rangers. He comes up there. What did Hibbies want? 2.3. We offer them $1 million. They say, no, 2.3. We offer them 1.5. 2.3.
Yeah.
Well, we offer them 2 million. Friggin' Aston Villa come in and say, what, you want 2.3 here? Take 2.4.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah,
Exactly.
I mean,
It's well in the Celtic budget, like, isn't it, Gavin? Do you know the 2.3, the original price? It's well in the budget, like that Celtic could have got McGinn at that time, like, isn't it? You know.
Well, talk about it like. Well, talk about it with the DOF, for example, and this is why I'll say again with Law that he acted essentially as a DOF. The DOF is going to go out there and he's going to be the one who's going to be laying the bids down. Otherwise, it's going to be coming from the manager. Manager comes in there, has a chat. I want you, boy. Yep. How much is going to cost? Yep. Here, CEO, sign the check. The CEO signs the check. The CEO doesn't go back and forward with bids.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is the director of football, and the CEO gives the final friggin' okay to it. Lawler's been sitting around playing around. He's been, a pretendy DOF at Celtic, and it's done us no good. I honestly think that when we're talking about, I want a player for 2.3, 2.5 million, and he gets a no. Ange isn't going to toe the line with the board. If Ange comes out and says, I want to play for 7, 8, 9, like again saying with Castan or even with Edouard, if he gets a no then, he can maybe take his tail between his legs and say, all right, I'll go look for someone else.
Mm-hmm. Mark, do you want to come in there and anything there?
I agree with that. Celtic shouldn't be scrimping and scraping over £2.3 million for players. If everybody in the place knew how good John McGinn was, we've spoken about him plenty before, Paul, but I've said it as well. I totally agree with Gavin. I've said it for years about Peter Lowell running the club as if he was a director of football, and for me he's been the biggest main problem at Celtic for years, Peter Lowell, and I'm delighted that he's hopefully got a picture. I think that's one of the best things that Dermot Desmond's done in the last year, to get Peter Lowell out the door.
Oh, he's toxic now. He can't say. Look, at the end of the day, this next 24 days, like honestly, he should be put on gardening leave himself. Just get him out the door.
This is the biggest rebuild in Celtic's history. It's probably bigger than the Martin era, Gavin, isn't it?
No, I'd say since Mowbray. Well, you have a look at it with Mowbray. Like, I mean, we absolutely fell to pieces in the season, and after that, basically Neil Lennon sold Aidan McGeady, and with the money that he got from that, he went out and he bought everyone. He bought an entirely new team. That team failed against, I think it was Malaga or something like that, or Braga actually. Sorry. In the Champions League qualifiers. We lost the league on the second last day to Cayley. The year after that, we're beating Barcelona and the like. And this is the thing, like, I mean, this again feels a lot like the end of 2010 for me, or mid 2010. It's the last time where we had a team where you're looking at it and you're just like, God Almighty, what on earth happened to my football club? And but you've got to remember, within 18 months of that, we beat the Barca. So it's not for us to be so down and out. Like, I mean, it can be done. It has been done. It will be done. We'll get back and we'll win our 52nd title.
Mm-hmm. Chris, I think to that is the biggest rebuild.
Oh, it's absolutely monumental. But this is the best chance they're ever going to have, because there's no talk of 10 in a row. We've absolutely, done tremendously well to get the quadruple treble. This is the best chance that we've got to, once again, take a step back and go, right, let's get this guy in place, let's get that guy in place, let's get sports scientists and data analysts and everybody else that you can imagine, and put a guy in charge of that. And once again, I think Ange has got the ability to control that 100%. But it's a massive rebuild. Even if you were to take away the player scenario and just look at the backroom team, it's massive, absolutely massive.
Just go by the backroom team there, right? Because myself and Mark spoke about this role before the podcast. Is the sports science role, right? And currently, our head of sports science at the moment is a fella called Tim Williamson, and he was involved with the club when Martin Neal was there, and when Renan Dyler came in, he said he wasn't good enough. He dropped him, didn't want him. They ball in his own sports science. The fitness levels went up. Then Brendan Rodgers came in. The board wanted this fella Williams up again. Rodgers said no, I didn't rate him. He brought in his own sports science people. Neil Lennon came in because he was under the Martin Neal era. He promoted Williamson up to the sports science department. I think that role needs to be re-looked at again, is the sports science. It really seems to be an area that our fitness levels have just dropped. Like, it's good, like the current team you have with the fitness levels now and the style of play that you're saying, that big Ange players, like, at the moment they're not fit enough to play that role. Chris, are they?
I don't believe so, no.
Would you agree with that, Gav? That their fitness levels aren't up to scratch, that they actually adapt to big Ange's role?
Oh, look, put it this way. We're going to need to see... I'm not going to throw anyone under a bus, but you're erring towards the negative on it, aren't you?
Yeah.
I'm always positive when it comes to Celtic. Like I was saying earlier, I couldn't write a word about Celtic for months. I was just broken. But I'm hoping that we're going to have I'm hoping we're going to have an announcement tomorrow. Stock exchange opens. They're never going to announce a manager unless it's going to give their share price a boost. So hopefully tomorrow the stock exchange opens and there they are. Big Ange is on his way. He's doing his 2 weeks, and we'll see what happens. I think that what's going to have to happen is they're going to have to basically go into an army camp of a preseason, where he's going to find out exactly who can and can't play for him, who can and can't play the roles that he needs to fill, and there are going to be a lot of players that are going to be transfer listed, and then there's hopefully going to be a lot of players that come in.
Because it is a big opportunity for any manager coming into to Celtic at its great. There's no pressure of the 10 in the road. The players leave. You're basically getting Gavin to build the club from scratch again, your own first team, bringing your own players that maybe you wouldn't have had in recent seasons.
Oh, look, this is one thing. Okay, obviously I don't want to put him in the same boat as like Sir Alex, but I remember when when David Moyes took over at Manchester United, and people asked why did they get David Moyes in at Everton, from Everton, and it was basically because he's a 24/7 head to toe sort of a manager. Doesn't just run the first team. He's he dots all the I's, crosses all the T's. He double checks everything from the under sevens up to the women's team he talks to the groundsman about how the pitch is going to be kept. Talks to the CEO about the state of the buildings. An absolute top to toe gaffer. Now,
he talked around West Ham, didn't he, this season? Didn't he, David?
Oh, goodness gracious, what a season they have West Ham.
Yeah.
And one thing is, we as Celtic fans were raging that we were being linked with him. Oh, God, punch yourself in the head now. We would take him back.
Yeah.
Call the taxi. But anyway, the thing is, I think that with Postecoglou, he's got a new CEO. He's going to be able to basically sign 80% of the squad. And he's coming into an empty stadium where he's going to be able to then fill it bit by bit as the COVID restrictions go away. He's going to get to put his stamp on the club at every single level. Yeah. And remember, this is a man who cut his teeth in club football, then did 4 years as the national manager. As national manager, it's the same sort of thing, from head to toe of the nation. You were responsible for everything from the national curriculum, for young players coming through to scouting every single match to checking everything out. Your entire job is to be nothing but football at every level of the
I
nation.
like what you said about him there. That you said like the likes of Mark Van Duke and all them and Swatter. Like he could see clearly that they were past this, and he could, So
there was a national campaign to get Schwarzer and Kuhl into the squad for the 2014 in in Brazil. People were begging for him, and Harry was playing some good football, I think, at Melbourne Victory, and Schwarzer was still, he was in the Champions League semi-final, actually, I think, for Chelsea. When
some keeper on these days, Schwarzer, unbelievable, weren't they?
Loved him, but the thing was, he's like, no. These players, they might be good for this, but they're not going to be good. I've got a confederational title at home. He went with Matty Ryan. Matty Ryan had a shocker in in Brazil, but he was incredible at home in the Asian Cup. If he didn't have that shocker, he wouldn't have been incredible. Same sort of thing. He had like Juric and that he picked up as strikers and the like that did the job for him and got the goals and won us the Asian Cup. Like he's a man that he won't put a band-aid on a bullet wound. He'll look for the long-term fix.
And was that your first major trophy then you won as Australia, or you won any before that? So?
Okay, if we're talking about Oceania, which is to say like Samoa and friends, we've won 4 of those. I don't know how we've ever lost any of them, but they're counted at the same level as, say, winning the Gold Cup or the Copa Libertadores or the or Copa America, I should say, or like the African Cup or the Euros.
That'd be classified as the Euros here, so wouldn't this the
same level?
Yeah. Just because you touched it there, Gavin, the goalkeeping situation this year has been shocking. Like 3 keepers in one season. I never saw a team in my night. I'm only 39. I never saw a team would use 3 keepers in a season. Do we need a new keeper, or do we give Marcus a chance? Or
sell him for any money. If we can get $3 million back for him, mate, I bite the hand for that. You have a look at the lad from Ulster. What's his name? He was in the Scottish Cup final and that. Hazard. Yeah, look, bless. He's a good number 2, maybe. Bain getting beaten by shots that go over his shoulder, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's not even like, it's not like it's an outstretch and you couldn't get to it. Like when friggin' Stephen Davis is about 150, can kick a ball straight past you. Like, I mean, sorry, mate. Oh, with a bicycle kick. God, no. Look, Bain's got to go. Any money, goodbye. With Hazard, he's young.
He could do another loan, couldn't he? Just a loan out next season. I think Hazard could benefit from a loan.
I honestly think that we need to have him on the bench as a number 2. I'd get rid of Bain. I'd sell Barkas. We'll get money for him back in Greece, and then like I honestly have a big rap on that boy from Dundee United.
We have a lad that comes on to us. He's from Dundee United. He's Jonas, and he speaks highly of Seagas from Dundee United. Yeah,
I think that he's like the thing is with Seagas. If you had him in with a proper professional back 4, he'd be like, he wouldn't ship 20 goals in a season. I think he's an absolutely brilliant keeper, and I believe he's on a free or entering the last year of his.
I was told, Mark kind of said this, that he's had approaches from England as well, but he's actually holding off to see if Celtic are interested. Do you hear anything about that, Mark?
I've heard a few people saying it. Yeah. He seems to fancy the idea of coming to Celtic, but whether Celtic fancy him is another thing. Do you know what I mean? But for what Jonas has said and for what I've seen him, I'd be quite happy with him to come to Celtic.
No, he's honestly he's the best keeper that's going. Look, McGregor had a brilliant season last year. I hate the basket. He had a great season.
Yeah,
he got player of the year.
We spoke about that the other night. McGregor just easily looks like a modern version.
There's a fella that's on our forum page, JFP. He comes on the podcast now and then, and he said at the start of the season that McGregor is going to be 20 points to Rangers this season. And he was Monty. Chris, what's your take on the goalkeeping situation? Like it's been shocking as well this season, hasn't it?
Oh, it's been very, very poor. But I've got a funny feeling that they're going to give him another go. I genuinely believe that. Now, I'm not saying that they should give him another go, but I just think that when you put the front three in front of him, Julian wasn't fully fit throughout the year. If Ayer did want to go last year, and then Shane Duffy had a bit of a, well, I mean, Shane Duffy obviously never had the best of seasons. Look, maybe this is just the character that I am, but I would like to see Barkas in goals with a really good, solid.
I think it's down to maybe the pandemic, Chris, that maybe like not having his family able to come in or anything like that, and not able to mingle with the first team and stuff like that.
It would have certainly had a part to play. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you know what it's like, Gavin. Obviously, you living in Sweden, I'm living in Australia. When you do make that move, it does take a bit of time to transition. But look, don't get me wrong. I think what's really let Barkas down is the fact that some routine saves. There was never a moment where I felt as though I feel comfortable he's only come out and claim a cross, or even if we had a penalty against us, I just never felt confident. Whereas when Fraser Forster was in goal, you felt as if
it builds confidence to the defenders as well, don't it, Chris? Don't this? You know, you have a good goalkeeper.
Yeah, with Fraser Forster, man. 6 games he played this year for Southampton. 6 matches. Absolutely ridiculous. He would have got the same wages. You know, he would come to Celtic, he would have had a chance of immortality. 6 matches. My God. You know?
And that's funny, Gab, because when you actually look back at the time when COVID had happened, Fraser Forster had the opportunity to go back to Southampton when the season was just about to get called it quits. But Fraser Forster kept on going back to Lennoxtown to train every day and whatever else it may be. He had the opportunity to go back. So there's a part of me that also thinks that maybe the board thought, well, you know what, we're not going to pay most of their wages, we're not going to make the money, we're not going to pay the fee that maybe Southampton want for you. I mean, I don't know, but that just makes me. And if Celtic were courting Barkas for a year, I've been told.
Exactly.
Then maybe Celtic thought, well, if he's not coming on board, we'll just bring in this guy. I think Barkas hasn't done himself any favours. There's no doubt about it. He's not, but I do like to at least go, do you know what? We've been here for a year. Let's get a proper 10 players in front of you. Let's get a manager who's getting back, and let's see what you can do. Because there was times, I mean, I think up at Ross County when we won 5-0, he produced a few very, very good saves. But I mean, obviously one game's not good enough. But I think it's a bit of a shame as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, true. Put it this way: I was in Rome for Lazio away. It's like,
wow,
my God, seriously. Went down and watched the game, and watching Fraser there, like the command of the box. And this is the one thing which we also really missed out with Barkas. Like, he never left the line. Yeah, I mean, he waited for the ball to come to him. Didn't go out to the ball. And if he did, he looked like he was in no man's land. So he gave the strikers the best chances of getting the best angles. So it was a huge shame. But watching like a player like Foster, when with the absolute command of the 18, like, I mean, he scared players away from playing balls forward. Yeah, I mean, whilst at the other time, you had Barkas who was beckoning him forward. It's madness.
And it's funny because I try and put my scouting hat on, and if you were to go and watch a YouTube clip of Barkas when he was at AEK Athens,
Mark put that up on our forum page as well.
He's a great shot stopper. He was very good with the ball at his feet. He was an internationalist. He played in the Champions League with AEK Athens. So on paper, you're going, this is worth a punt.
Think it was the same player. Wouldn't you know that?
I know.
You wouldn't think it was the same player.
I know.
And playing with Celtic,
unbelievable.
I'm a bit siding with you on this, Chris. I think there is a good. Well, what we're just saying, there is a good keeper in there, but it was as if he had the weight of the world in his shoulders. But he never looked confident. He never looked. See what you're talking about. a big, loud, brash goalkeeper bawling and shouting at people. No, he just never looked that type of person. He always looked dead down, and his shoulders were kind of. See, his body language it looked as if he just away the world in his shoulders for me.
Aye.
100%. And then when you look, as I said, I don't know how many games we played with a back three, but you had, no James Forrest. Frimpong isn't a right back as far as I'm concerned. Frimpong's better going forward when he's defending. And mate, it was only probably 2 or 3 games in to Duffy's career where I started to go, oh no, I don't know about this guy, and you gave him the benefit of the doubt. So things like that can seep into any player, whether you're a centre midfielder, a striker, a defender. If there's somebody next to you that you're not 100% certain of, once again, he's got to, as a human being, as a man, put his hand up and go, hold on a minute, I've had a pretty poor year, and try and hopefully come back next year and do better. But I'm convinced that he might not be Fraser Forster level, but I think he could do a job. But I just think that you need to get the defence right. You need a bit of continuity, a bit of stability, and I think that's something that hopefully the new manager brings.
Just going on the rebuild, Gavin. Like, what are the positions mostly that need to be improved than last season? Like,
well, we got to begin at the beginning. It's the defence. We gave away an endless amount of crappy goals, set pieces. I mean,
ridiculous.
Okay, so basically, clubs knew full well, and I'll be a little bit paranoid, get my tin hat on, but like referees knew as well. So if it was 10 metres on our side of halfway, players were looking to fall over or run into players. Get a straight leg, boom, down. Because from there, you can set all your players up on the 18. They're all going to be onside. You can whip a looping ball in. We've got goalkeepers that don't know if they're coming in or coming out. We've got central defenders that don't know how to play a defensive header. We've got wing backs that don't know how to track the man that's running through on them. I mean, like what we need is a back four. Now, Chris Julian, I love Chris Julian. I hope he gets back to his strength. Taylor, there's a player there. If Ayer's going away, we need a new centre half there. We need 2 new centre halves and a right back, in my opinion. Ralston's not the answer, and I don't know. John Joe Kenny's gone back home.
Yeah.
So we need a right back as the first thing. We need 2 centre halves, one to replace Ayer and another one. Because obviously there's going to be injuries. Welsh is a third choice for mine in that. He's not a first team player. Then after that, okay, I like Sorrow in midfield as your defensive midfielder. I'm not sure it's going to depend. Does McGregor stay or not? Christie's going to go. Rogic isn't a 90-minute player. Forrest on the wing, but he's not a 38-game player throughout the season. We don't have a left winger. We absolutely need, so we need a right back and a left winger straight away. Mikey Johnson and Ralston aren't the answers. Okay, we need 2 centre mids, absolutely. Albie and a Yeti, possibly Griffiths isn't going to be there, and Bio. I'm sorry, we need another striker. We need someone. So we need someone up front. We need someone straight behind him in the number 10 role, because Rogic is going to play the whole time. McGregor's going to be away soon. Christie's on his bike. Forrest, okay, I bring Chaved back as a backup for him. I'd like to see him get a season. But yeah, honestly, we are pockmarked, mate.
It's unbelievable to think how we actually got to this situation and this the amount of players and what we've left at the club. There's not even a backbone of a first team there.
No, there's not. And as well as this, it's going to get less and less and less. But there's players I'm talking in there. Okay, I promise you this. Christie will be away. McGregor will be away. Ayer will be away. Edouard will be away if he's not already. Okay, you're talking about there's 4 out of 11. On top of this, I think Barkas will be away. So then you're up to 5. On top of this, we've lost El Yunusi. I wouldn't say we've lost John Joe Kenny, but we've had those 2 who occupied first team places all the time. Now you're up to 7. Okay, and you're talking out of those 4 that are left over. Forrest is, he gets injured quite a bit. Scott Brown is away. That's up to 8. So now I'm putting Sorrow in his place. So what are we talking about? We're talking about Christopher Julian, who hasn't been playing. We're talking about Taylor, and we're talking about Forrest. That's the three players who are staying, man. Put that through your freaking head. My God, where are we going to buy? It's much easier to talk about where we don't need to buy. And out of those three players, Julian spent 80% of the season injured, terrible injury running to that goalpost and the like. Forrest, a huge loss. Chris was saying about it earlier as well. Like, I mean, it was a massive loss to us. How much we relied on James.
Exactly, yeah. We didn't kind of see it until he was missing, so we didn't know how much we actually missed Forrest in the team.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And then on top of that, you have a look at Taylor. Taylor's not even the first choice. He was behind Bolingoli, and then even when he was getting played, we were talking about playing the three at the back and the like, and he was getting put onto the bench. So we're talking about three mainstream players that should walk into the team, either injured a lot or not really selected all that much. So yeah, where do we start buying? Oh God, where don't we start buying?
Yeah. Mark, that's basically what we were saying all through the podcast, wasn't it, about the rebuild and the positions we need to strengthen. Every position, really, isn't it?
It really is. We need strength and depth across all the park. The squad's decimating. And we've spoke, it's just bad planning again for the board that so many players are getting into the final year of their contract and with so many loan players in that they've all left at the one time.
Exactly.
It's just really, really bad planning, Gavin. That's all that comes down to on the board side.
Oh, you got to ask yourself, mate, do they have a calendar? Do they know that all these players are coming off contract simultaneously?
Yeah.
Do they know that there's all these loan players who are going back simultaneously? When you get that, it's a double whammy. And at the same time, we've got no manager, no director of football. We've got an interim manager and his assistant that are universally, loathed by the support. People want Kennedy out the door. People were Strachan, like, seriously, he shouldn't ever show his face around. And this is one thing, I'm just going back on what Neil Lennon said. Neil Lennon brought Strachan in. Okay, we lost Duff. And Duffy was a big loss to the club, as we've seen. But at the same time, when Lennon said, I didn't get to pick my own backroom team, bollocks to yourself. You got and picked friggin' Strachan. You brought Strachan in. Look what Strachan did. He brought an iPad. It's like...
Well, not the only one. So then that Norris that he spent most of his time on his laptop.
It's chaos. Anyway, anything else?
No, just... Chris?
No, I was just going to say on that, I heard that Lennon wanted Tommy Johnson to be that equivalent to what Gavin Strachan is now. So there's no doubt about it, he had a say in it, but I was led to believe that he wanted Tommy Johnson to be that guy. I think as well, it's kind of hard if you look at when Lennon was at Celtic. Originally had Gary Parker, he had Mialb, he had Alan Thompson, and then he goes to Hibernian. I think Gary Parker was with him. It goes to Celtic. He probably thinks he's never going to get the opportunity to manage Celtic again. Gets us to treble. And anybody in their right mind, whether they thought they were going to do the job well or they could bring their own staff in again, it was a no-brainer for Lennon to be offered the job in the showers, which I still can't believe that had happened. I cannot believe that they allowed that to be said out loud. Right. I think that there's no doubt about it. He was like, yep, well, this is probably going to be the last time I'm ever going to manage this club. I'm just going to take it and go all in. And what happens is, if you've not got people that trust you, if you've not got people who have your back, sometimes players can start to wander a little bit. But for me, I don't know if you guys are closing it off now, but for me, it obviously was it can't get any worse. Get the big guy in, get the song started, get the fans back to the stadium, and hopefully we can do well next year.
Do we write off the qualifiers, Gavin, do you think, or the Champions League qualifiers, considering all these positions that we have, and they're coming in fairly fast now, the 20th of July, the qualifiers, the Champions League qualifiers?
I'm very pessimistic about chances of getting out of the qualifiers. Last year we had a fully set team. We come back from a brilliant European run, got us to the other side of Christmas and this, that, the other. We got humped by Ferencvaros. This year we're going into it with no team, no manager, no director of football. What's his name? A CEO has been in the job he came in early and he still hasn't been seen. I don't like our chances of qualifying. I'll be surprised if we qualify for the Europa League, to be fair.
Mark, do you agree with that, yeah?
I think we'll qualify for the Europa League, but I don't think we've a hope in hell of getting into Champions League. I said that the other night as well, Paul. No, I don't think we can really expect much to come out of the Champions League qualifiers, to be honest.
So, folks, that's all for today's.
Just somebody in the live chat had asked earlier, but Gavin, is there any players in Australia, Sweden, or Japan? You says you watch a lot of that. Is there any players there that you could see playing for Celtic that you think have caught your eye, and you think maybe Ange could look at them, or even players in Sweden that's caught your eye?
Oh, not really. We'll put it this way: a lot of the players that the best Swedish players play outside of the league. Like in the major European leagues, like what used to happen with Australians once upon a time. I watched Australia play Ireland in an under-23 game, or an Olympic match a couple of days ago on Premier Sports, and there was a boy who scored a goal there. I can't remember his name. It's like it's an Arab name. He's like whatever it was an absolute belter. And I watched the team, and he looked the best of them. He was playing on the right wing for Australia, and we shat the bed, and Ireland beat us 2-1. So yeah, 90th minute winner, and all the rest is like, oh, you've got to be joking.
I love how you drop in the odd wee Scottish saying. I heard you saying there the host. I thought
it's got to be said. You know what I mean? But honestly, I'm not sure. I haven't watched much J League, but the J League, put it this way, mate, there's players with just incredible ethic from there and also from Korea in the under 23s all the way through. You get any player from there. Like, I mean, obviously we've had players like Naka and Song and blah blah blah, but like I would. This is the one thing with Ange. He's going to be able to see these players. He's going to watch them. He's going to be playing in these or Asian qualifying games, like for instance, like Asian Champions League and the like. He knows who these teams are, these players are. He knows what they're worth and who's available. But in Australia, sadly, I can't really say that there's anyone that's jumping up and down screaming to be bought.
Chris, anyone jumping up out of Australia? No?
Unfortunately, no. I think you would need to look at the actual national team, but I think most of them are very, very young. Very, very young. But what I would say is if he's got any players in mind, and there is anywhere near as Tom Rodgick, then I think we'll be all right.
Perfect. So, folks, I'm happy to leave it there. If yourselves or anything else you want to add, Gavin or Chris?
No, thanks for having us on. Exactly. Thank you so much for allowing us to give your opinion, and hopefully we'll do it again.
No, that's the thing. I said I'd like to thank the folks on the live chat. Thanks, Gavin and Chris, for coming on the show, giving us different opinions about Celtic, and I'm sure Mark will agree that you're welcome on our podcast anytime you guys want to come on. We'll arrange it. For myself, thanks again, lads. It's really appreciated that you came on today. Mark, you close the show.
You're more than welcome. Thanks for coming on to both of you, Gavin and Chris. I've really enjoyed that today here, and I've just letting you rabbit on for talk. I told you that, just talk with what you want to talk about. And I hope everybody enjoyed it. Take care of yourself, and remember, hit the subscribe button and smash the like button. Right, thanks lads. Bless.
Thanks lads.
Thank you so much. Cheers.